You see, there comes a time in life when you got to wake up and recognize some people are not meant to be in your circle. Some people are not meant to walk with you. And some people, they don't love you. They love controlling you. Kindness is one of the most powerful forces in the world. It has the ability to heal wounds, to bring people together, to inspire hope in the darkest of times. But kindness, when misplaced, can also be a weapon used against you. And when you show kindness to a narcissist, someone who sees your compassion as an opportunity rather than a virtue, you set yourself up for emotional exhaustion, manipulation, and pain. A narcissist is not like a normal person. They don't see kindness the way you do. When you give, they don't feel gratitude, they feel power. When you forgive, they don't feel remorse, they feel control. You think your kindness is helping, but to them it's a green light to continue their behavior. Because in their mind, if you're still giving, still caring, still showing up, then they must be doing something right. Imagine you have a cup of water, and every day you pour a little out for someone else. That's what kindness is. It's sharing your energy, your love, your time. But what happens when you keep pouring and no one ever refills your cup? Eventually it runs dry. And the narcissist, they don't care if you have nothing left. In fact, they prefer it that way. Because a drained, exhausted, broken, DA version of you is easier to control. You see, kindness is not meant to be unconditional when it comes to someone who repeatedly takes advantage of it. This is where people get stuck. Society teaches us that being kind is always the right thing to do. But what it doesn't tell us is that kindness should not come at the expense of self-respect. It should not be used as an excuse to tolerate toxic behavior. You wouldn't let a thief keep stealing from your home just because they smile at you when they walk in, would you? So why allow a narcissist to keep stealing your peace, your joy, your energy, just because they throw in a few sweet words or a fake apology? A narcissist will test your limits. They will push you, see how much they can get away with. And the moment they realize that your kindness has no boundaries, that you will always come back, always forgive, always make excuses for them, that's when they know they have you exactly where they want you, and they will never stop. Because why would they? Why would they change when they can keep benefiting from your kindness without consequences? The truth is, you have to redefine what kindness really means. Real kindness isn't just about being good to others. It's also about being good to yourself. It's about recognizing when your kindness is being abused and having the strength to walk away. Because staying in a toxic dynamic, allowing yourself to be mistreated, is not kindness, it's self-neglect. A narcissist will make you believe that your kindness is your weakness. They will tell you that you're too sensitive, too emotional, too dramatic when you finally stand up for yourself. But that's not the truth. The truth is, they were never strong enough to match your level of love and empathy, so they chose to exploit it instead. And the moment you realize that, the moment you take a step back and see the pattern, you take your power back. You are not here to be a source of endless validation for someone who refuses to change. You are not here to fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. And you are certainly not here to be drained, manipulated, or disrespected in the name of love. Love does not demand suffering. Kindness does not mean allowing yourself to be used. There is strength in walking away. There is power in choosing yourself. Because the moment you stop being kind to a narcissist, the moment you refuse to give them what they expect, you break the cycle. They lose control, and that's when you truly win. Narcissists thrive on your compassion because they see it not as a beautiful quality, but as a tool, something to exploit, something to manipulate. They recognize that you are kind-hearted, that you are someone who believes in seeing the good in people, and they use that against you. They don't see your empathy as an act of love. They see it as an opportunity. At first, they charm you. They mirror your values, your kindness, your hopes. They make you feel seen, understood, even special. But that's all part of the act. See, narcissists aren't interested in connection. They're interested in control. They observe what moves you, what makes you care, what makes you give, and then they shape their behavior to extract as much from you as possible. They don't take because they need, they take because they want to see how much you'll give before you break. And the moment you start to set boundaries, the moment you hesitate before giving, That's when they change the game. That's when the manipulation begins. They will guilt trip you, make you feel like you're the selfish one for pulling back. They'll remind you of every good thing they ever did for you, whether real or exaggerated. They'll twist the story until you start to doubt yourself. Maybe I am overreacting. Maybe I should just be more patient. Maybe if I explain it one more time, they'll understand. But they won't, because understanding isn't their goal. Control is. A narcissist will never truly listen to your pain because acknowledging it would mean taking responsibility. And responsibility is something they run from like a shadow in the sun. Instead, they turn it back on you. They make you question your reality. They make you feel like the problem is you. And because you are kind, because you are compassionate, you start to believe them. You start making excuses for their behavior. Maybe they had a rough childhood. Maybe they just don't know how to express love properly. Maybe if I just give it more time, they'll change. But that's the trap. Time won't change them. Why? Because they don't see anything wrong with how they treat you. So they keep taking. And the more they take, the harder it becomes for you to walk away. Not because you don't see the toxicity, but because you've already invested so much, you've given so much of yourself, that leaving now feels like admitting failure. But it's not failure, it's freedom. A narcissist's biggest fear is losing control. And the moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop feeding them with your compassion, your forgiveness, your willingness to fix things, they lose their grip on you. That's when the rage comes. That's when they lash out. That's when they try to make you feel like you are the villain for finally choosing yourself. But don't fall for it. Don't let their desperation pull you back in. They are not upset because they love you. They are upset because they can no longer use you. And that's the truth you need to hold on to. Compassion is a gift, but in the wrong hands, it becomes a weapon against you. A narcissist will never stop taking unless you stop giving. They will never stop manipulating unless you stop reacting. And they will never stop controlling unless you take back your power. You have a choice. You can continue pouring into someone who will never be full, or you can step away and pour into yourself. You can keep justifying their actions, or you can finally acknowledge that you deserve better. You can stay in the cycle, or you can break free. Because no matter how much love you give, no matter how much understanding you offer, no matter how much you sacrifice, it will never be enough for someone whose hunger for control is never satisfied. And the moment you understand that, you reclaim your freedom. Respect yourself first. That's the foundation of everything. That's where your strength comes from. Because if you don't respect yourself, nobody else will, not truly, and certainly not a narcissist. See, when you keep putting someone else's needs above your own, when you keep sacrificing your happiness just to keep the peace, what you're really saying is, I don't matter as much as they do. And that's exactly what a narcissist wants you to believe. A narcissist isn't looking for an equal. They're looking for control. They want to know that no matter how they treat you, you'll stay. That no matter how many times they lie, manipulate, or twist the truth, you'll always find a way to justify their behavior. And the moment you start doing that, making excuses for their disrespect, you've already started losing yourself. It starts small. You let one insult slide. You brush off a cruel remark. You tell yourself, they didn't mean it. But over time, those little moments add up, and before you know it, you're walking on eggshells, second-guessing your own feelings, apologizing for things that aren't even your fault. Why? Because you've been conditioned to believe that keeping them happy is more important than keeping yourself whole. But let me tell you something. You don't owe anyone your self-respect. You don't have to break yourself into pieces just so someone else can feel whole. Love should never require you to abandon yourself. If you have to shrink, if you have to silence your voice, if you have to betray your own needs just to be loved, that is not love. That is control. A narcissist will test you. They will push your boundaries to see how much you'll tolerate. And the more you tolerate, the less they respect you. That's the truth. They don't admire kindness, they exploit it. They don't appreciate your patience, they use it against you. And when they realize they can get away with disrespect, the cycle begins. Because to a narcissist, it's not about love. It's about dominance. It's about winning. But here's the secret they don't want you to know. The moment you start respecting yourself, the game is over. The moment you set a boundary and refuse to bend, they lose their grip on you. The moment you choose yourself, truly choose yourself, they realize their power over you is gone. And I know it's not easy. It's hard to walk away when you've invested so much of yourself into someone. It's painful to accept that the person you thought loved you was only using you. But what's harder? Staying in a situation that's breaking you, betraying yourself every single day just to keep someone else happy. That is the real tragedy. You have to decide what kind of life you want to live. Do you want to be free, or do you want to be controlled? Do you want to be whole, or do you want to be a shell of yourself? Do you want to be respected, or do you want to be used? Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to one thing. What you allow is what will continue. If you keep tolerating disrespect, it will never stop. If you keep making excuses for toxic behavior, that will never change. And if you keep putting yourself last, you will never be happy. So today, make the choice. Choose yourself. Choose your dignity. Choose your peace. Because the moment you do, that's the moment you take your power back. And there is nothing more powerful than a person who finally realizes their own worth. Narcissists don't just manipulate you with words. They manipulate you with perception. They create illusions. They twist reality. They shift blame so smoothly that you start to question your own memory, your own instincts, your own truth. One moment, they're charming, loving, attentive, the perfect friend, the perfect partner, the perfect mentor. And then, without warning, the script flips. They withdraw, they criticize, they make you feel like you did something wrong even when you didn't. At first, you think it's just a misunderstanding. Maybe they're stressed, maybe they're going through something. So you do what a good person does. You try harder. You communicate, you apologize, you make excuses for them, thinking if you can just explain things clearly enough, they'll see the truth. But they don't. They don't want to. Because the moment you try to make sense of their contradictions, the moment you try to call out their inconsistencies, they gaslight you. Gaslighting. It's not just lying, it's making you doubt what you know to be true. They'll tell you, I never said that, when you know they did. They'll tell you you're too sensitive when you're just reacting to their cruelty. They'll tell you you're remembering it wrong when your memory is clear. Over time, you start to feel crazy. You start to feel like maybe it is you. Maybe you are the problem. Maybe you are overreacting. And that's exactly what they want. The moment you start questioning yourself, the moment you stop trusting your own mind, that's when they have complete control. That's when you become easier to manipulate, easier to guilt trip, easier to keep in their grasp. They don't want an equal. They don't want a partner. They want a mirror that reflects back to them exactly what they want to see. And the moment you stop reflecting that, they punish you. It might be through silent treatment, days of cold, emotionless distance, making you feel invisible, unworthy of love, desperate to get back in their good graces. It might be through sudden rage, explosions over small things, leaving you walking on eggshells, always afraid of saying the wrong thing. Or it might be through subtle digs, backhanded compliments, little jabs at your confidence, just enough to plant doubt in your mind about your worth. But here's the truth. Their words are not reality. Their version of events is not the truth. Just because they say you're crazy doesn't mean you are. Just because they say you're unlovable doesn't mean you are. A narcissist's greatest weapon is confusion. They don't need to hit you to hurt you. They don't need to scream to silence you. All they have to do is twist reality just enough to make you question yourself. Just enough to make you hesitate, just enough to make you doubt whether walking away is the right choice. But it is the right choice, because the moment you recognize the game, the moment you see the pattern, you take back your power. You stop trying to win their approval. You stop trying to prove your worth to someone who will never see it. You stop explaining yourself to someone who doesn't want to understand. You start trusting yourself again. You start believing in your own mind, your own emotions, your own instincts. You stop waiting for them to change, and you start changing your response. And the best response is no response at all. You don't argue, you don't explain, you don't try to make them see your side, you simply detach, emotionally, mentally, and eventually physically. You realize that you don't owe them your peace, you don't owe them your energy, you don't owe them your life. You are not crazy. You are not too sensitive. You are not imagining things. You are waking up. And once you wake up, once you truly see them for what they are, there is no going back. There is only forward. There's only freedom. There is only you, standing strong in your own truth, no longer bound by their twisted version of reality. And that is the moment you win. Setting boundaries and enforcing them is not just an option when dealing with a narcissist. It is a necessity. You see, a narcissist doesn't recognize or respect the natural, unspoken limits that exist in healthy relationships. To them, boundaries are not lines to be honored. They are obstacles to be pushed, tested, and broken. And if you allow them, they will cross those lines over and over again, not because they don't understand them, but because they refuse to accept them. A narcissist wants access to you at all times. They want to control your emotions, dictate your actions, and manipulate your thoughts. If you say no, they will guilt trip you. If you try to establish distance, they will find a way to pull you back in, whether through fake apologies, love bombing, or outright intimidation. They don't want you to have space to think clearly, because the moment you do, you'll start to see them for what they really are. And that is exactly why setting boundaries is your greatest defense. A boundary is not just a rule you say out loud. It is a firm, unwavering stance that you live by. It's not about making someone else behave better. It's about protecting your own energy, your own mental health, your own peace. When you say, I will not tolerate disrespect, you are not asking a narcissist to change. You are making it clear that if the behavior continues, you will remove yourself from the situation. And that is where many people go wrong, not in setting the boundary, but in enforcing it. A narcissist will test you. The first time you say no, they will challenge you. They will push. They will see if you really mean it. And if you hesitate, if you waver, if you allow just one exception, they will see that as a weakness. They will recognize that all they have to do is wait, pressure you, or manipulate you just a little bit more. And eventually you will bend. That's why the real power of a boundary is not in saying it, but in following through with action. If you say you won't tolerate disrespect, but every time they insult you, you stay and argue, your boundary means nothing. If you say you won't answer their calls when they are angry, but the moment they blow up your phone, you pick up, you have shown them that their behavior still gets them what they want. Boundaries without consequences are just empty words. And a narcissist, they don't listen to words. They listen to what you allow. This is why it is so important to stand firm. No explanations, no justifications, no long debates about why you are doing what you are doing. A narcissist thrives on drawing you into arguments, making you doubt yourself, twisting your words, and making you feel guilty. The more you explain, the more ammunition you give them to tear down your boundary. The key is to be clear, be consistent, and most of all, be unapologetic. And yes, it will be uncomfortable at first. They will react. They will try to guilt you, shame you, accuse you of being selfish or cruel. They will say you've changed, that you're the problem, that you don't care about them. But hear me when I say this. A person who truly respects and loves you will never make you feel guilty for protecting your peace. If someone is angry that you set a boundary, it is because they benefited from you not having one. You have to ask yourself, what do I value more, their comfort or my peace? Their approval or my self-respect? Their feelings or my freedom? Because a narcissist will always try to make you believe that enforcing your boundaries is wrong, that choosing yourself is selfish. But the truth is, the only people who get upset when you set limits are the ones who are taking advantage of you to begin with. So stand strong. Don't explain. Don't justify. Say what you mean what you say. And if they continue to cross the line, walk away. Because at the end of the day, a narcissist will only change when they no longer have access to the person they are manipulating. And that person is you. You can't fix them. You can't heal them. You can't make them see what they refuse to acknowledge. And the moment you accept that, truly accept it, you set yourself free. Because the truth is, a narcissist does not change. Not for love, not for effort, not for sacrifice. They change only when they decide to, and most never do. Because why would they? The way they are works for them. It serves them. It benefits them. You staying, you trying, you explaining, you proving only feeds their power. The hardest thing to accept is that no matter how much you love them, no matter how much you give, no matter how much you try to show them what real connection looks like, it will never be enough. Not because you're not enough, but because their void is unfillable. It has nothing to do with you. You could twist yourself into every shape imaginable, walk on every eggshell, bend over backward until you break, and it still wouldn't be enough. Because the moment you give them what they want, they'll just move the goalpost. They'll demand more. They'll set a new test. They'll push you to prove yourself again and again until you are exhausted, drained, and questioning your own worth. But here's the truth. Your worth is not up for debate. Your value is not something that needs their approval. And the only way you win this battle is by refusing to fight it at all. You have to let go of the illusion that one day they will wake up and realize what they've lost. That one day they will see your worth and regret how they treated you. That they will apologize, beg for forgiveness, and change. But that's not how this story ends. Because a narcissist does not self-reflect. They do not hold themselves accountable. They do not take responsibility for the pain they cause. Instead, they rewrite history. They make you the villain. They tell themselves and anyone who will listen that you were the problem. And if you stay hoping, waiting, believing they will be different, you lose yourself in the process. The only way to heal is to walk away, to stop explaining, to stop trying to make them see, to stop breaking yourself into pieces just to make them comfortable. You are not their savior. You are not their emotional punching bag. You are not required to be the bigger person while they continue to shrink you. Leaving does not make you weak. It does not make you selfish. It does not make you cruel. It makes you strong enough to choose yourself for once, because you deserve to be free. You deserve to be in spaces where love is real, where respect is given freely, where kindness is not manipulated for control. And when you finally cut that chain, when you finally choose you over the illusion of who they pretend to be, something incredible happens. You start to heal. You start to remember who you were before they made you doubt yourself. You start to see how much of your life you wasted, walking on eggshells, holding your breath, waiting for the next storm to hit. And then you realize you never needed their validation to begin with, because you were always enough. You were always worthy. You just had to wake up and see it for yourself.